A bill making it easier for a child's relative to become their foster parent is now closer to becoming law in Illinois. The state Senate unanimously passed the Kinship in Demand or Kind Act today. Right now, a child's relative is required to undergo the same licensing procedures as unrelated foster parents, which can create barriers to certification and financial support from the state. The bill would require DCFS to create a certification process geared towards potential foster parents who are related to the child.
It directs the juvenile courts to provide necessary oversight to the department's obligation to maintain family connections and promotes equitable opportunities to youth and families to thrive with rational permanence.
Though both the House and Senate ended veto sessions today, they are looking at potentially coming back for a lame duck session in early January before the new lawmakers are sworn in.